What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I basically want to talk about. So I read a Cointelegraph article that was talking a little bit about. So there is a new startup based in Liechtenstein that they basically want to they want to do collectible cars on the blockchain. So you issue tokens and you peg it to the value of a real collectible car. And it's really interesting because this brings in this topic of owning fractions of an asset. And yes, I've been seeing a few videos about it. For example, people have ideas that, yeah, you can have real estate, you can put it on a blockchain, and you can make it so you own fractions of that asset. So, for example, if you have some real estate, if you want to own like 0.0000001% of it, and then if it appreciates in value, you can like cash out. I mean, it's really interesting. Like, I try to have a balanced look on this because, people are speculating a lot in this like industry. Like, oh, this can have value. Like, we can issue tokens and assign, like, peg it to some physical value, like this new startup here in Liechtenstein. How do you want to do it to real collectible cars? And I mean, it's really interesting because I have seen, for example, I bought some crypto kitties, for example, on Ethereum just for fun and just for troll purposes. But I get some people dislike this, like collectible virtual items. Collectible virtual items is a little bit different because they're not connected to something in the physical world like these people are trying to do. But uh, it is really interesting how you can make almost anything valuable, and you can make the key thing here, I think, is fun. So CryptoKitties is a little bit fun, but I don't really think, or it's kind of hard. It's not like super fun. Like it's fun, like for a week, but then you sort of get bored of it a little bit. Like keep collecting them because they're launching so many new, and the game theory seems to be a little bit off. You can't do it super easy in your phone. So I played around a little bit with US Dynasty. You buy these CryptoKitties, these virtual things, and they can breed other cats. The problem with Ethereum, it's a little bit expensive for each transaction to do, but it's still a little bit fun. But it wasn't really like you can make that much income on it unless you were like really early in it. But then I had the experience of US Dynasty where you earn the daily EUS dividends, and it's an Android app, Android game that you install, and you basically you mine items, you find items, your warriors, your pets, they find items, they go and explore in a specific time period, maybe 24 hours, and then you get some item, and it can be a rare item. And then if it's a rare item, they actually have proven that they can create an economy on this, and that you actually can. So they have like daily revenue, and people that has these TKT tokens, they get daily EOS plus that they can sell these items in the game for real profit, because the market is built into the game and using EOS blockchain to verify transactions. And now people that sort of bought that around May when they launched last year, 2019, I think they're going to start to make profit in a few months. And then it will be like, and then they will have earned back what they invested, and then it will just be all out profit then. Because what's kind of fun with like these virtual things that's now happening, is it has very low cost once the tokens has moved around a little bit. I mean, the code just keeps on running. That's what we're seeing with Bitcoin and all these other things. Like when systems are set up, they just keep going by itself. And when you're a virtual owner, as you are in this game, you own items and you can level up. You basically, I mean, you're a virtual owner, and then just code keeps on running, and you have better characters because if you were in early. So it's really interesting. Like, so I've seen that it actually works, and that you can earn like $3 or $4 per day from that already right now when it's early, like blockchain based games. from like virtual items, like selling virtual items, earning a couple of dollars per day. It's pretty interesting, right? It's kind of fun in many ways that people love to speculate on things, and now that people want to do this with physical items, so tie tokens to something in the physical real world. I mean, in many ways, it sounds very, very interesting. Like, I mean, it sounds very fun, right? So this article, it talked a little bit about it here, about the so-called card token is set out to be pegged to the value of collectible cars, giving more people a chance to have a fraction of an asset. And this is what they said to BBNN Bloomberg on January the 30th. And then they say the company said that the attractiveness of the token also lies in the fact that the value of such goods continue to appreciate. When you look at fine art collectible cars, they've been historically safe havens. Each holder of the CT1 token will benefit from holding a fraction of an asset, although did not delve into details about how it would work. It also said that any vehicle that increases in value by more than 20% will be resold so that investors can share the profits. So you really have to like dive deep into this, like exactly how it's going to work, because nobody has really done this in the past. So there's going to be a lot of experimentations. I love this text here. It was like, no right to drive the cars. You can have a guy in Uganda who's able to invest in a rare car that's kept in a value in Stuttgart, tokenized by company in Liechtenstein, and it all fits within this recognized regulatory environment. However, that Ugandan investor will hardly be able to drive the car he invested in. So this is like one of these funny things. So for example, you can have a real estate, and you can own fractions of it, of that asset, and you can have someone that lives in that real estate, and other people can own a fraction of that if it appreciates, and then they can sell that fraction. So it's like this idea of like micro investing, and we don't really know if there's going to be a market for this, because we know that how the real world and what people do in the real world and what they find interesting. Like, you can have the best idea in the world, but if nobody really is then interested in it, then it may not catch on. So it's not just about having. So in some ways, some people are saying that, oh yeah, we're gonna tokenize everything. Like you can tokenize literally every physical thing in the world, and everyone's gonna own a fraction of everything. But that may not actually be how it actually plays out. Like, we don't know what people like. Maybe people don't even care about this at all. Maybe it always will just be like a small minority of people, or maybe the software or like the website that they use is horrible. Maybe they use a bad blockchain, or maybe the regulatory things are just too complicated. Maybe there's too many middlemen involved. Maybe the fees are going to be high. Like there's so many things you have to dive deeper into if this actually would work. Like owning fractions of like real estate, it can become quite complex if you can't do it in a, let's say, trustless way, because it's like you're dealing with a lot of countries, you're dealing with people from various places, and the question is, can you do this in a trustless way? Because it gets complex when you're dealing with the physical world, or it can probably be very complex, because it's like, what happens if something gets stolen? Like, if that physical asset gets stolen, what then happens with your tokens? Are they still worth something, or like what happens? I haven't really been diving deeper into this, but I do remember, like, when you read all these white paper or blue papers or yellow papers from 2018, everything sounded amazing, and everything sounded like, oh, we have 1,000 different ideas here, and people seem so passionate that they're really going to follow through and do these amazing things. But then you see that with the reality, like when you dive deeper into a white paper and the ideas, you realize, oh, this idea is probably kind of silly, or these people don't even actually have the ad money to make this popular among like the mainstream masses. So you have to look at so many things here, and I think that what you're looking at with dealing with the physical world and try to connect it with the blockchain. We have not really seen anyone do that successfully right now, but I think that there's a lot of projects that say that they're going to use like third-party oracles to do this, but then it's like, okay, but you have to trust the oracle that it's telling the truth. So if you're buying something digitally, and how do you know if that physical thing still exists, right? Or maybe it works amazing. Like maybe everyone loves it and it works amazing. And maybe security is just like a super gimmick thing. Maybe people even will uh, buy and sell physical items that doesn't even exist, but they believe it exists. And because people believe it exists, maybe it works either way. You see that there's a lot of things involved here. For example, yeah, you can set up like 4K cameras. You can see that the physical thing exists, but maybe the AI has manipulated a physical camera and it doesn't exist. Real estate is like so collectible cars is kind of interesting because it's like it's items that can move around. But with real estate, if you own fractions of an asset, with that you kind of know that house probably is not going to be stolen. It's probably still going to stay there because it's like it's in the ground. But with cars, we don't really know how that's going to play out, but it's going to be interesting, right? So already now, like with EOS Dynasty and with Night Story, they're using Night Story is using Ethereum for their own decentralized marketplace for sell ERC. Is it 721 tokens? I can't tell. But they are using OpenSea to do that, and then they're gonna also use EOS and Tron, I think. But it's like, okay, so we can see that already like markets works when items used are virtual, they don't even exist in the physical world. So if you do this thing that this Liechtenstein companies or startup is gonna try to do, where they're basically gonna do the same thing, like we have tokens, we're gonna assign value in the physical world. Maybe it's not gonna be that, like maybe they are gonna have it worked out pretty great. I don't know, like it's it's really fascinating, to be honest. One big thing is like you will need like exciting apps. You will need like amazing apps available, so it becomes more fun. Because if this is something that is not available easy in an app, and if they're not making this fun, like the visual interface and all that, and if they're using a bad blockchain, or maybe their PR team is like boring, maybe this is going to be pretty lame. We know that it takes a long time and a lot of game theory understanding to sort of you need to to be in this sort of industry. You need to know so many stuff. You need to know marketing, you need to have some good developers, you need to understand game theory, and all this. Like, to learn these skills takes a couple of years, and even then you need a person that's good at the virtual world, and you need also someone that understands how you can connect the physical world to the virtual world. And I think that a lot of people think that this is going to be easy to do, but it's probably way more complex, because it's like, okay, you can have collectible cars, but who guards the car? I mean, you always, especially when you're starting to deal with the physical world, it's very, very hard to make that, let's say, trustless, because you have so many people involved in different things. And we know all the drama that comes just from the virtual world, like when people are doing stuff in imaginary land, in the virtual or cyberspace. So imagine when you start connecting the physical world also. People probably gonna expand the borders of ignorance a lot and learn so much new stuff. Same as I've learned so much stuff, seeing how technology has evolved just the last 2 or 3 years. So it's gonna be interesting, especially when people expand the borders of ignorance here. How do you connect the physical world to the virtual world, and like what is the best tools to do that? And will fractions, or owning fractions of an asset, let's say real estate or collectible cars or paintings, is that gonna take off? uh maybe it's going to, like, maybe people find it super fascinating. Like, if you can own a fraction of a Mona Lisa or something, I mean, maybe that's funny, like, to show to your friend, like, I own this small percentage in this painting and I can sell it now for profit. Or maybe it's just gonna be super cringe, and people, and maybe we used to have super intelligent artificial intelligence that just do so many tasks for us that maybe it's gonna even be so much better speculate and everything, that it's gonna be maybe totally pointless for us to do it. But we humans love to experiment with things. Like, maybe we're gonna do a lot of pointless stuff. We're probably gonna do, most likely we're gonna do a lot of experiments, and this Liechtenstein startup probably also sees it in that way, in many ways, that we're gonna do this experiment and we're gonna see what is going on in this industry, because maybe they see some stuff happening in this industry, like they see Dogecoin value at $250 million market cap. Maybe they're curious, like, what is going on here? Like, can we create more value? And we know that in like the world, like, we're printing a lot of value, right? And now we can create our own value with tokens. So a lot of stuff is probably going to keep appreciate. Like, a lot of stuff is probably going to go up in value that is not being printed as fast relative compared to other things that people are using as a medium of exchange. So, for example, fiat money is printed kind of quick compared to other things that you can design or create in the virtual world, or real estate, or collectible cars. Like, it's very hard to like print more collectible cars. Maybe if we get some like super advanced technology, we can print cars, and we can have robots that build houses. I saw a story that in Russia they may be able to 3D build houses in 5 years from now. So so maybe we can 3D print collectible cars eventually then also. So with nano robots or something, who knows? But it's gonna be interesting. Like, it's gonna be really interesting to see if fractions of assets owning that, if it's gonna work out. Me personally, I love the liquidity idea. Like, if you would be able to own fractions of various assets and be able to buy and sell them super fast, and like sell whenever you want in a trustless way, that sounds pretty interesting. Because people seem to like to speculate and measure things and compare things. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how this is gonna play out. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about in this video. Have a great day, YouTube, and esteem blockchain. Bye bye.